Young Turks host Cenk Uygur will challenge President Joe Biden in the Democratic primary, announcing his bid on his own show Wednesday. Let's watch.
I will be running for president of the United States of America. He is not going to win. I am running. Yes, I am a break glass in case of emergency candidate. It should not have been me. It should have been someone else. But unfortunately, it was not anyone else. And now there's only 4 months left. We must change course. He has at best a 10% chance of winning. Donald Trump is an actual fascist.
Cenk urged Biden to drop out of the race, citing his cratering poll numbers, which he's not exactly off the mark on that one. A new Fox News poll shows President Biden's support is between 45 and 49% against each Republican running for the White House, including the narrow lead over Trump. But among the battleground states, a new poll from Marketing Resource Group shows GOP frontrunner Donald Trump leading the president by 7 points. That's in the battleground state of Michigan, which Biden narrowly won in 2020. In Pennsylvania, also a swing state, Trump is ahead of Biden by 9 percentage points per a new Emerson College poll. Trump enjoys 45% support there compared to Biden's 36% support, while 11% of voters reported that they plan to vote for someone besides the two frontrunners, and another 8% haven't decided yet. This chunk of voters may open up space for both candidates to win or lose votes.
So these numbers are really bad for Biden. There's no way around it. These are key states, obviously, and we don't need to remind viewers of that. Michigan, Pennsylvania, and other places will decide the election. In the previous election, Biden was never behind by this much against Trump in these states. Things could still change. If you're Biden, you have to hope that if and when Trump is actually the nominee, there will be some kind of erosion of support or that independent third number. A lot of that will defect to Joe Biden. That's what you kind of have to hope for. But I don't know if there's any reason to really think that. It's bad numbers. Matt, but you're more familiar with Cenk Uygur than I am, although we had him on our show a couple weeks, maybe last week before my vacation, to talk about his new book, and you two kind of got into it. So what's your take?
I think Cenk's biggest hurdle is the fact that he was not born in the United States. And so...
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah, unfortunately, the community notes under his announcement tweet reads, Cenk Uygur was born in Istanbul, Turkey, and is therefore ineligible to hold the office of President of the United States, which requires the candidate to be a natural-born citizen. Cenk claims that the Supreme Court would overturn this requirement in a, quote, slam dunk victory. So he has his own legal theory as to why he should be able to be president. I frankly think it's a silly rule. I don't think that should be the bar to him or anybody else being president. I know that Republicans were dealing with this when Arnold Schwarzenegger was contemplating a run at one point. But this is the reality.
It is the rule. I mean, sure.
Currently.
But it's a pretty clear, you know, you have to be this tall to get on the ride at the amusement park.
Correct. So, and I think it's a tall order to ask people to invest in your political campaign, including financially, when you can't really demonstrate that it's going anywhere.
Would they be able to put him on the ballot? Because I'm reminded now of this controversy with Donald Trump. Some legal scholars think because of his involvement in January 6th, he is technically committed insurrection, and under the terms of one of the Civil War era amendments, someone who does that, if referring to former Confederate soldiers, is not eligible to be president. And the argument is you can't even put Donald Trump's name on the ballot. Obviously, that's something that is going to prompt a lot of litigation, and there's going to be arguments for why that doesn't apply in this circumstance and so on. But the age and place of origin requirement is much more straightforward. So if the argument is you're not supposed to put Trump on the ballot for that reason, I would think it would be similarly that you can't put Cenk Uygur's name on the ballot if he's just known to be not born in America.
I think that's right. And look, a lot of candidates have gotten criticized for running campaigns that are an effort to sell their book. Marianne has been hit with those accusations. She's, of course, denied them and actually spoken to how much the spiritual community that buys her books really hates politics. Andrew Yang has been accused of that. Vivek Ramaswamy, with his woke book, has been accused of that. I mean, people who run for office do tend to write books about that experience.
Well, and they get cable news gigs, and they get speaking gigs, and they get, I mean, the Democrat in in 2020 for the Democrats, in 2016 for the Republicans, there were 1 million candidates, these quote-unquote legitimate candidates, the political actors. Well, they're raising their profiles and political fortunes and writing books, getting speaking gigs, etc. So I think it's not fair, actually, to accuse outsider-type people like Andrew Yang or Cenk Uygur or Marianne Williamson of like cashing in, like the mainstream people are cashing in.
Sure. I do think that with Cenk, the controversy is heightened by the fact that some years ago, I think like 5 years ago, he did a fundraising campaign for him to write a book, and then the book never materialized. And so now people have already associated him and the book with a certain kind of a grift, and now they're like, okay, here's the book, and now it's going to come with this political campaign. So he's going to have to deal with those implications. But I think the biggest problem is he doesn't have name recognition out of a very small corner of the left. He might have the biggest YouTube show on the left, but what does that mean in the grand scheme of things? The idea that somebody could provide an alternative to Joe Biden and help beat Trump, and that person is him, and not like an establishment choice like Gavin Newsom, is going to be a hard sell to most liberal, centrist Democrats in the country. I don't think he's wrong about ringing the alarm on what's going on with Joe Biden. And I do think that, frankly, if it's looking like Joe Biden is going to lose anyway, I don't see why the Democratic Party wouldn't be interested in doing a kind of a Hail Mary campaign with someone who actually, I don't know, has the support of the people and doesn't have this horrible record that he has to defend. But I just don't think that Cenk is the guy.
Cenk, what is his background? He did work for the House. Is that am I correct? At one point, or wasn't he involved in Justice Democrats or some group like that coming together?
He co-founded Justice Democrats. I mean, part of the issue is that he ran for Congress before. I guess it was the 2020 cycle. Was that? And he got the endorsement of Bernie Sanders, but then there was like all of this controversy around it, and Bernie Sanders got hit because there were some, accusations about past behavior. The TYT in its earlier days was a show that was much more aligned with like an entertainment. That's not even the right example. Remember Perez Hilton?
Sure.
It was the early aughts, and it was not a good time for how we treated women in this country. And it was all, there were all of these,
but a great time for fashion. And a great time for music.
Sure. But it was all upskirt photos of like Paris Hilton or Lindsay Lohan, people who in retrospect were like 19 years old, getting out of cars. You look at old cringy really late night show interviews, and you have, much older male hosts asking about the weight and the breast size and, creepy things about the women that are sitting in their chairs. And the Young Turks did engage in a lot of that, what we would now think very sexist behavior. So it is difficult for Cenk. I think anyone who wants to really just kill his campaign will just go pull up a bunch of clips of him saying and doing things that have not aged well, shall we say.
Has he picked Anna Kasparian to be his running mate? They can just have the whole show be
well, she's implicated in it too, right? She was sitting right next to him and like playing along when they were doing that stuff. And I'm not saying
I thought she joined the show later, but
she joined early enough to be doing that with him. So I'm not saying that anybody should have to be characterized by their past behavior. There were a lot of people in the world who behaved that way back then who don't behave that way now. But I am saying that is something that he's going to have to contend with if this became anything close to serious, which, again, I just don't see happening.
They can't even put his name on the ballot. That seems like a major hurdle, but good luck to him clearing that, and we'll have more Rising right after this.